I know what you're thinking. The quadratic formula is already quite scary. Just wait until you hear the story. It was a cold, dark night, and I was alone in my room working on my math homework. The quadratic formula stared back at me from the page, taunting me with its complexity. I sighed and rubbed my temples, trying to focus. Suddenly, I heard a strange noise coming from the hallway. It sounded like a soft, shuffling sound, as if someone was dragging their feet. I looked up, my heart pounding in my chest. I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" There was no answer. I got up and slowly made my way to the door. I opened it, peering out into the dark hallway. Nothing. I let out a sigh of relief and turned back to my room. That's when I saw it. A figure, standing in the corner of my room, barely visible in the dim light. It was tall, with long, bony arms and legs. Its eyes were black, empty sockets. I screamed and stumbled back, but the figure didn't move. It just stood there, staring at me with those hollow eyes. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I was frozen in fear. The figure took a step towards me, its movements jerky and unnatural. I could feel its cold breath on my face as it leaned in even closer. "You shouldn't have looked at the quadratic formula," it whispered in a raspy voice. "Now it's too late." And with that, the figure lunged at me, its bony fingers reaching for my throat. I screamed and tried to fight it off, but it was no use. The last thing I saw was its empty eyes, and then everything went black. I woke up in the morning, my throat sore and my body aching. I looked around, but there was no sign of the figure. Had it all been a dream? I shook my head, trying to clear the fog from my mind. But then I saw it. On my desk, next to my math homework, was a note. It read, "The quadratic formula is just the beginning. There are much scarier things waiting for you." I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash, but I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I knew that whatever had happened last night, it was far from over. And the quadratic formula, it was just the tip of the iceberg. I always thought math class was a waste of time. Sure, it was important to know basic arithmetic, but all those equations and formulas seemed like they were just there to torture us. Little did I know, one of those seemingly useless formulas would end up saving my life one day. It was a dark and stormy night, and I was driving home from work. The rain was coming down in sheets, making it almost impossible to see the road ahead. Suddenly, a deer appeared out of nowhere, right in the middle of the road. I swerved to avoid it, but it was too late. My car spun out of control and crashed into a tree. When I came to, I was trapped inside the car. The steering wheel was pressed into my chest, making it hard to breathe. I tried to open the door, but it was stuck. Panic quickly set in as I realized I was completely trapped. That's when I remembered the quadratic formula. It was one of those things we learned in math class that I never thought I'd use. But in that moment, it was my only hope. The formula is used to solve quadratic equations, but I realized it could also be used to find the length of the lever I needed to free myself from the car. Using the formula, I was able to calculate the length of the stick I needed to pry the door open. I found a piece of wood nearby and used it to wedge the door open. With a mighty effort, I was able to free myself from the car. I crawled out and collapsed on the ground, gasping for air. As I lay there, soaked to the bone and shivering in the cold, I realized that even the most seemingly useless things we learn in school can end up saving our lives. From that day on, I never took math class for granted again. I met her at a quaint coffee shop downtown. She was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen, with long, flowing hair and eyes that sparkled like the stars. I couldn't help but approach her, and to my surprise, she was friendly and engaging. We talked for hours, laughing and sharing stories. It felt like we had known each other for a lifetime. As the evening drew to a close, I mustered up the courage to ask her out on a date. She smiled warmly and said she would love to go on a date with me, but first, I had to prove her intelligence to her. I was taken aback, but intrigued. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I want you to recite the quadratic formula from memory," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. My heart sank. I had always struggled with math, and the quadratic formula was something I had long forgotten. I stammered, trying to recall the formula, but my mind was blank. The woman's smile faded, and she said rather matter-of-factly, "I'm sorry, but I only date men who are intelligent and can think on their feet." I was devastated. I couldn't bear the thought of losing this incredible woman. I racked my brain, desperately trying to remember the formula. And then, like a bolt of lightning, it came to me. The quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, I blurted out, my voice shaking with nerves. The woman's smile returned, and she clapped her hands together in delight. "Well done," she exclaimed. "You've proven your intelligence. I would love to go on a date with you." Relief washed over me, and I couldn't help but laugh. It was the strangest test I'd ever taken, but I had passed. I couldn't wait to see what other surprises this beautiful woman had in store for me.